It's like that's just one thing. It's just cost of business. So it leads you to focus on other cost-saving measures. So you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about that, so I have to reduce it somewhere else. So you don't even look at it. You look at it even less. You get pushed away from it. And then, so the first step we want to look at is really how you're procuring it. So when you're going to get that supply. People don't even know to think about that. And so the reason that when you look at your energy bill, so this is just typical National Grid bill, people don't even understand that this part is delivery, this part is your supply, and so the delivery is going to be the same no matter what. Utility will always change that. Where your power becomes is in the supply choice. So people don't even know. They look at it like, oh, supply cost me this much this month, great, I have no choice. But you do have the choice, and that's where you want to kind of narrow it down.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
You know what I've always been curious about?
Yeah.
What happens when the power goes out?
That's a great question.
And it's out for like not an hour, like 8-9 hours.
Yep.
Is there a way to tell in your bill that you were not charged for that?
That's a great question. I actually thought you were going to go somewhere else with that. I don't. The reason you're not is because you're not using power during that time. So there's no.
So you're
not charged for the hours that you're hooked up. You're charged for the actual kilowatt hours you use.
Okay.
So because you're down for those 9 hours, you're not using any energy.
And what did you think I was going to ask? Like a rebate or a refund?
I thought you were going to ask.
Who do you contact?
Who do you contact?
Like if your power went out.
This is national.
The power company, right?
But
that some people don't know that.
Oh,
so
why would they know that?
Some people think if I change my supply, does that mean I now have to call someone else?
I have to go through the funnel.
You always go through the utility. Always a utility.
Okay.
But the power becomes from this choice of supply. The utility doesn't care where your supply comes from. So they're gonna.
This is good information, by the way.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad you think that. So you have the choice, which is great, but the people are like, why do you have the choice? So a quick little background on the energy industry, which you may know through your son. Deregulation, you used to have only one choice, monopoly of the utility. They're your one product, one price, no choice, and it's truly a monopoly. So the regulators looked at that and they said, we want some competition in the marketplace to bring those prices down. And so they opened up supply, and now it's open across 20 states. So for the supply part of your bill, remember there's two parts of your bill, delivery and supply. The only part where you have the choice is the supply. The delivery is still monopoly. So when we go and talk about the delivery specifically, that is the cost to maintain. So the utility is still monopoly because you don't want to have the infrastructure, who's maintaining the lines, who's not. It's always the utility. They can get their cost back. Their number one job is to make sure power's going and the grid's existing.
Got it.
It's from the utility. They make sure, again, that the grid's not going to go down. So that's just the delivery side. So if you're with the supplier or the utility, that's going to look the same.
So what's the average savings by looking at it?
It's a great question. And some brokers will call you and say something like, oh, you can save 20% guaranteed. Don't listen to that. You never know until you look at your bill. So like one restaurant, in one service location, I was able to save them almost $8,000 on their energy bills for the year.
That's a lot.
Because a huge amount. Because they were in an area where the utility rates were much higher. They didn't use any choice. I worked with another restaurant. We were able to save, lock in prices for a longer time. It wasn't as significant, but because of long-term strategy, they're working with global and with a supplier. Those costs go down and down and down. Now that business owner never has to worry about it again.
Yeah, that's great.
And with the utility, your rate goes up and down. You don't have any choice. So the supply part of it is the energy itself. So this is a great piece, what's in a rate. So this is what the supply rate is. So most people think it's just the electrons, but it's really transmission, capacity, taxes, all these different little pieces that you never
look
really
at the
know.
taxes. It's like a pretty good chunk.
Yeah, and so those things you can't change. The commodity piece do change, but that's your supply rate. You have the option to choose from a supplier or go through the utility. You have a wide range of options for the suppliers and cost structures over time.
So once they work with you and you decide what their best option is, do you just take it and have whoever you go with, they take it over and then you're done? Yeah,
I'll go into our process in a second. You asked a great question when you get there. Just quickly, let's go to, I'll just flip back to that. So our process for global energy is we first state and we look at what your usage is. So we take a look at your energy bills. We look at it over and so we understand the basics of your business. So are you a restaurant? Are you a laundromat? Are you an office building? Are you a manufacturing plant? Are your hours from 8 to 5 typically? Or are your usage 24 hours? Are you running a huge manufacturing plant? So we understand that first. We take that usage, what your historical uses were, and then we go out and shop it. So we'll go to these suppliers that we have great relationships with and say, hey, we have this customer in this location under this utility, this type of usage. What are the best rates you can give them for anywhere from 12 to 36 months? So we take those, we look at all the offers, we look at what the contract language is. So we'll present it to you and say, hey, here are the choices. Here's the rate, here's the rate, here's the rate. Here's all the pass-throughs. Here's what the cost is going to be over that time. So most people just focus on rates, where it's really the cost savings. So if you look at this example, the true cost quote. So this is in your folder as well. So with brokers, they usually just give you a rate. With all these different pass-throughs, your full cost will actually be in the bottom. So we're able to talk through and say, even though one rate may say 9 cents versus 9.1 or 9.2, the 9.2 is actually the best rate to go with because of all that contract language.
Yeah, and they wouldn't know that.
No one knows that. The only people that know that are the people that are living it every day, which is us.
Right.
So we are a value. We look at ourselves as a trusted partner in energy for the business we work with. We're aware of everything every day, what's going on, what the changes are, and so if a customer that we work with is like, oh, I have a question on my bill, they can call us instead of calling the utility or the supplier.
Yeah.
Joe, I have a question.
Please, sure.
So these, when you go to an energy supplier,
Yeah.
if that's the right term, and you go to 6, 7, or 8, and it's a good bit, like it's a store, a big store.
Yeah.
Do they lower their prices
They want to be
as
competitive.
opposed to like if the store themselves called the supplier and said, hey, what are you going to charge me? If you come to them and you can talk them down a little bit?
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, definitely. So the one of the other misconceptions is that there's a volume discount. So the more you buy, that rate goes down. There's no volume discount.
No.
It's not the volume discount, but
Cummings Properties where I live,
Yeah.
that's like massive.
Yeah.
They just,
they give you the rate.
yeah.
Yeah, so the thing is where the price comes down as a business owner is if you have one point of trusted contact. So for example, working with Global Energy, we're going to spend a lot of time up front understanding what your strategy is, overtime, etc. But then you know now, all right, that's a 1-year contract. The next year's contract, you already know it's trusted, we're presenting it to you, now you're there. And you always know it's something you don't have to worry about. If you were a customer having to bid at the end of every one of your contracts, you're going to waste so much time and energy to try to even think about how to vet those.
You won't even do it.
You'll either forget it and you'll go back to the utility.
Yeah.
You won't understand what you're looking at, and people get these rates and they think it's apples to apples, but it's not. So that's what we do, which is really effective. And our skill is presenting it as here's the cost versus here's the rate, because the rate's not truly what you're going to pay.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see a lot of small businesses getting a lot out of this. you know?
Yeah, and the hard thing for where we are is that we provide such a great value, and the fact that like people that are homeowners, can you help us out with homeowners? There's not that same. It's with commercial properties, but it's also if you're an office space like this office space,
Right.
it's not in their best interest to shop competitively because it's going to take too much time for the amount they use.
Yeah.
So there are some businesses that we've been like, Joe, can you help us out? We've had to turn them away and say you're going to save more money staying with the utility than you would
Because
if you went with
it's
the
too
supplier.
small?
They're too small. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just because it becomes the transaction cost versus the volume.
So you have no small customers, or
I do have some small. So I work with a church and school in town. I work with smaller restaurants, and it depends. Sometimes it's like if it's worth our time where we can give good advice, they know what they need, and something they can take advantage of. But there's other times where we'll tell a business that it's like with right now what the utility rates are, you should stay with the utility. That doesn't mean you should stay with the utility next year.
Mhm.
So that's something that we keep in touch with them, and we're keeping an eye out. So it's like, oh no, we just noticed for the next year that the utility rates are going to go up in this zone. So we're going to be able to say, let's just do a 1-year contract. So we're aware.
Almost like being in finance and watching the stock
It
market.
is. You just took the words out. It is the market. It's the energy market. No one can predict if it's going to go
Energy
up
market,
tomorrow
there
or
you go.
down tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's where the whole reason competitive choice went in is because the suppliers, that's what they're doing in the back end. Is
Yeah.
they're the ones hedging the bet, so they're the one that have the risk. The customer doesn't. The customer gets a rate that they know they're going to pay for 12, 24, 36 months, because sometimes those prices can vary so much. If you're a business owner and you're paying 12 cents last month, next month you're paying 18 cents, if you have only tight margins, you're not ready for that. How can you
Right.
budget for that, account for that? So
That's crazy.
most of these, it's budget certainty. You know what you're going to get. You know what to expect. Versus utilities, some utilities will change every 3 months. Some will change every 6 months. But you don't have the power. The utility, you're just at the whim.
Now, how long has it been since we were able to go and get all these different offers?
Yeah, so it started in the early 90s, like mid 90s was like when it first started. Early 2000 where it started to go wider. And so every state has a choice. Most New England states, Northeast states do choose. The only state that you don't have a choice is Vermont.
Why is that?
They've chosen to, their state has chosen to stay on state power. And a lot of red states, typically, it kind of breaks down red or blue states.
So speaking of which, I have another one other question is, so I'm not articulate. I don't know the right language in this, but green energy, that topic, how does that play into this field now? Like from a business standpoint, with what you do, like where's this industry going to be in 5 and 10 years? But I mean, how much is it relevant right now too?
It's extremely relevant, especially in Massachusetts. So Massachusetts has some of the highest RPS standards, renewable portfolio surcharge. So they are requiring that the suppliers have a certain, or your energy is using a certain amount of renewable sources. So we can actually have some contracts that if you're a business owner and you want to say, we're fully renewable, you can have 100% RPS. So you can say, you don't know where that power is coming from, but it's like a retirement-based system. So if I'm using 100% of those credits, I'm going to retire those credits. So it's all tracked in the back end. But you can say, I've used green sources as a business. But it really comes in the fact where we work with companies that are reducing their load. So that's the biggest thing, is just using less energy. That's where it starts. But what happens is customers will do so many projects to reduce their energy costs, and they have a contract they don't even know that they're in, that they are still getting charged like they're using 100% of the energy they used to use. So we work with our customers like, what are you going to be doing in the next year? Are you going to be doing projects to reduce your energy or not? And so that's where it comes down to. So if you are, I just work with the customer, instead of a 3-year contract, we did 2, because they're going to start doing some new builds. So once we get to the end of that, we can say, how is that going to affect you?
Tell us where do people find you online or anywhere for your work?
Yes, work. www.globalenergyllc.net. Right here.
Oh, okay, got it.